We're pitching up a channel, bringing smiles to the world. We're hitting first base. Marty Lurie with friends. Home run, you know the ways and the trends of stories all with the match of the block. It's Marty and friends. Marty and friends.
All right. I love it. Great to have everybody with us tonight for Marty Lurie and Friends talking some ball. And we've got a good show for you tonight. You know, this show, when I thought about it and how I wanted to do it, I said, I want to do a show sort of once a week, maybe twice a week, with people who like baseball, who aren't necessarily professional writers or things like that, but people who are involved with baseball in their lives and talk about it every day. And sometimes they call in to call in shows. You never see them and all that. And let me introduce everybody. We have Eric in the top left. Of course, Eric from Beale Air Force Base has been calling me for about 15 years since I started MBR, and he has his own show now, Giant Sports Talk Live.
Thank you, Marty.
My right is a longtime friend of mine. We go back too many years, but he's a Giants fan, and he's been in the Polo Grounds. He's seen the Giants, so he suffers with the Giants every year, but he knows baseball cold. Down in the bottom left corner is someone who I really enjoy reading. He knows the game solid, and that is Jeff Young from Around the Foghorn. And I will tell everybody, check out that site if you want to get the up-to-date news on the Giants in a very unbiased way. I like it. And Jeff is part of Around the Foghorn. So, Jeff, welcome to the show. And then in the bottom right is my oldest son, Evan Lurie, who knows something about baseball. He's pretty good. And he is a physical therapist down in Los Angeles. But he and I have been going to baseball games his whole life. And we talk about ball all the time. So that was the concept of the show. So I'm glad to bring everyone together today. So let's get it started. First of all, I'll start with Michael. Spring trading for the Giants. There's something like 17-5. They've got the best record in baseball. You've been around the game a long time. What does it mean to you, if anything?
Well, I think it's having an incredible ripple effect up here in San Francisco. People are, came into this thing thinking, they're not doing anything, nothing's happening. And then they got Adames, they get Verlander, and people speak well of Verlander. And the next thing you know, people are kind of excited. And now, instead of saying, well, they're just absolutely a solid fourth place team, they're saying, of course, they can beat Arizona. It can beat San Diego. And the Dodgers may be, a little bit out of reach, but nonetheless, this is definitely a wild card team. It is interesting how people's minds turn when the team is doing well. And it does appear that there's a good reason why they're doing well. So I can just say that going into this season, there is an uptick in optimism in San Francisco for sure.
Jeff, let's go to you. Around the Foghorn. You write about this stuff every day, and I'm down here. I've seen a lot of it. What do you make of what's going on here with the ball club? And of course, the Dodgers took care of the Cubs already. They're 2-0. And, it looks like no one's going to stop them. But what about spring training for you?
Well, first off, Marty and everyone, thanks for having me on. I'm excited to chat baseball with everyone. What does the Giants 17-5 record mean? I mean, it's spring training. I try not to put too much weight into spring training record or stats or anything like that. It's great for vibes. Vibes are always great in spring training around this time of year. And then once the regular season starts, things kind of, the tide starts to turn. But it's great for everyone's confidence. I think if you look at teams who have done well in spring training in the recent past, there isn't much of a correlation there. I'm looking at the 2023 standings in the Cactus League, and teams like the Los Angeles Angels and the Kansas City Royals were two of the top teams in the Cactus League that year. The Royals went on to lose 106 games. The Angels lost 89 that year. So what does a 17-5 record mean? I don't know. It's great for the Giants. I think there's a lot to like in what they're doing right now, especially on the pitching side. That's kind of what stands out to me.
All right, Ev, let me go to you. You've played ball, and you know what it is to have a team that can win 17 of 22. I don't care what level you are, something's going right. And that, to me, is the thing that I'm taking away from spring training. What about you?
Oh, I mean, I guess, but I just think, again, these are practice games. For the first 15 days, they were extended rosters. It was mainly minor league guys. The last, and then, a lot of it's, kind of split squaddy sort of stuff. So I actually don't put any onus on the records. I think you want to see guys that are, new, fit in with the team. You want to see pitchers, there. You want to see people not get hurt. That's a big deal. You want to see the hitters start to get their stroke around the second half and now. But as far as the record goes, I mean, these games are 2-0 to the 6 and they end up 15-14, so it's kind of the record I wouldn't put too much into.
All right. Eric, how about you? You can weigh in on this one.
Oh yeah, I love this stuff. And kind of to piggyback on what Michael and Jeff said, you're talking about optimism, you're talking about vibes. And that's kind of what you want, right? Going into spring training, the Giants kind of got rid of a smell, right? With Farhan Zaidi. People, had their issues with Farhan. And you bring in, you bring in Buster Posey of all people, right? The beloved Buster Posey is going to be a Hall of Famer, and now all of a sudden he's running an organization. So now you're getting that enthusiasm by the fan base, and like, hey, maybe we're going to be doing something here. And it looks like it's translating to what's happening with the club. And again, to what Jeff and your son Evan said, you don't put a lot in the spring training, but it's nice to see the guys. It just looks and feels different, sounds different. That there's guys that are excited. You got guys who are, individually, you want to see what guys are doing, specifically with the pitching. I'm loving what we're seeing with Landon Roop and Hayden Birdsong and Justin Verlander. He's, tapped the fountain of youth, so to speak. And you got Robbie Ray, who looks like he's taking care of business. And again, it's in spring, but it's the whole, hey, we're getting ready for the season. There's some optimism. And let's see how this carries over into the regular season once the bell rings.
All right, let's get right to the issue for the Giants that they face right now. And the 4 starters, I think, are fairly solid, even though Hicks has not had a good spring down here, which is surprising because for me last year, he was the best pitcher I saw. But I'm going to assume they're not going to mess with him in the bullpen or anything like that. I'm assuming he's going to stick in that 4th spot. What do you do in the 5th spot? And I'm looking at the schedule, and I think it's important to point this out. 3 with Cincinnati. There's an off day in the middle there. And then 3 with Houston, then the off day, and then they come home for Seattle and Cincinnati. Then the interesting things start. The road trip. 3 with the Yankees. Evan, 4 with the Phillies. That's Ev's team. 3 with the Angels. That's a 10-game road trip with no days off. And then they got coming back with Milwaukee, Texas, and San Diego and Colorado. This pitching staff is going to be challenged. And that 5th starter is an important spot. So everyone's struggling with it. Everyone down here talks about it. What do you guys think about it? I'll start with Jeff. Where do you think they're going to go here?
To me, I think they're going to go with Hayden Birdsong. He's looked the best in my opinion. I really like how Landon Roop is throwing the ball. But they got Birdsong up to about 125 innings last year. So I think for him, the guardrails are off. It's a little different when you look at Roop's workload in the past couple of years. He threw about 75 innings last year. He threw about 35 in 2023, missed time due to injury. He hasn't thrown 100 plus in a couple of years now. So I think he has a relatively low workload threshold. heading into this year. So I think the Giants want to be smart about how they use him. It's going to be important to stretch him out as a starter, but they also need to be, they kind of need to pick and choose when they're going to use him. And I think the Giants don't want to burn all those innings early in the year. Whereas Birdsong, I think the guardrails are off. And, he's looked good. He's struck out about 17, 18 batters. He hasn't walked anyone. That's the key detail for me. He was walking about pretty much, I think, 5.5 batters per 9 innings last year. Control has never been his strength, but for some reason this year, he hasn't walked anyone yet, and that's probably the most promising sign. You don't want to put too much weight in spring training stats, but that's just the approach that kind of stands out. I mean, it's not the stat, but it's more the process, and the process looks sound from Birdsong. And the same is true for Roop as well. I'd be happy with both.
Yeah, for me, Roop has really pitched well down here. You're right. Birdsong's a little more stretched out as a starter. Where does Harrison go in all this stuff? Michael, well, you're up there and you're gesturing. Where's Harrison going?
He might be going to AAA. That's possible. I want to get back to Birdsong. It's amazing how impressions or how powerful they are for us, the casual fan that just like watches this stuff. And his last start, it's spring training, but it was like a game, and he was really good, really good. And he really is now into the strike zone. He pitched one of the best spring training games, probably all around baseball. It's been done. And he showed that he has starter. He has longevity. This guy can pitch, and he's completely like no problem. He's pretty good, and he showed signs of that last year, but he had control problems. Now his control is impeccable. I think he walked one guy, and I don't know. It was a great game. One of the best games I've ever seen in a spring training game. It was like a real baseball game. He was terrific. So I would think that he would be the guy. And
all right, I like Roop, but my point is that they're going to need a lot of innings from the bullpen, and there are a lot of games here with no days off, and you got age in the bullpen in the starters rather. Look, Logan Webb went over 200 innings last year. You don't want to burn him out early. Ray, you don't want to push him too hard. Verlander, you just pray that he'll still be pitching in June. You don't want to, burden this guy too much. Hicks, what happened with him midseason. He fell apart. So I'm not sure what you do here. The bullpen becomes very important. So my question to Evan is, how much can you push these guys early in the season?
Yeah. I mean, look, I think Bob Melvin probably knows the pitching staff or how to handle a pitching staff better than any of the five of us, but you can't do things that the guys can't give you. You start the season off, you got to expect that you're going to probably get 5 innings out of Verlander if you're lucky. Each guy will probably have a different amount of leeway that he'll give him. But, early in the season, I think you do lean a little bit probably more on your relief, especially as you get to that, second and third time around the batting order, and I'm sure each night is different. Start of the year, to be honest, they went through a full spring training. They should have about the most in the tank they're going to have. I mean, give or take, maybe you give them a month to kind of ramp up. But honestly, the first part should be the best part.
All right. Let's go to Eric. What do you think?
Well, I tell you, I like what you're saying, Jeff, and also Michael. I love this because Birdsong.
Let's see what we got.
Well, there he's kind of in and out. Here, I'm gonna have your son come out for later. Once he gets it back, I'll bring it back in. How about that?
Yeah, it froze. Yeah,
it happens. It happens. But with Hayden Birdsong, I'll tell you what I loved about Hayden Birdsong. It's going to go back to last year. He came out and he had some success when he first came up. And then he started to scuffle. There was about 5 starts in there where it's like the guy is kind of, oh, what's going on? Is he breaking down? What's going on? But then towards the end of the season, he got it back and he finished pretty strong. And I like to see that. I like to see that in a young kid. You know, he comes in, he's dominant, and then all of a sudden he scuffles, he figures it out, and then he adapts, and he comes back and he finishes strong. And it looks like that is leading into what he's done in this offseason and during spring. You know, and there's stories out there with Verlander telling him, to move his place where his foot is on the rubber closer to the third base side, and it looks like that's had some payoff with it. But yeah, I love that kid. I love watching him. It seems like he's got the presence on the mound. I think we talk about that with Landon Roop. He shows some presence on the mound. I think Henry Birdsong is the same way. And I think to your point, Marty, having Roop in the bullpen, they're probably going to need some guy. They're going to need some guys who are going to have to eat up some innings.
Yeah, Jelly too.
Yeah, I love Jelly. Even Bivens last year, he did okay as a long man. And then you have Roop in there. I mean, because as you stated, we don't know what's going to expect from Hicks. We don't know what to expect from a 42-year-old Verlander right now. Of course, I mean, it's spring training, so he's out there, doing his thing. But where is he going to be, as you say, June and July? So I think these guys are going to be key as far as the longmen in the bullpen.
Yeah, what do you think about Bevins? Jeff, you wrote about Bevins, or someone on the Foghorn wrote about Bevins and where he fits into this thing. He's had a good spring. And like I say, I think you need almost 3 long guys. I really do, because the short guys, you got Rogers, you got Duvall, you got Miller, and you close with Walker. It's the other guys in the pen for me.
Yeah. I mean, Bivens has had a nice spring. The number that stands out to me, he's made 6 appearances, completed 11 innings. So, I mean, it makes me think that the Giants envision him as a multi-inning reliever, which is, he did that a little bit last year. He did some, 1-inning stints as well. The Giants like Bivens. He attacks the strike zone. He doesn't have overpowering stuff. I think his fastball sits in the low to mid 90s, but he knows how to command it. He knows how to just miss the barrel of the bat enough, even though he'll probably never have high strikeout totals. But the Giants like what he brings to the table. So, I mean, with how he's performing and, what he can do on the mound, I'd be surprised if he doesn't start the year with the Giants. I know it becomes a numbers game at this point. Guys who are optionable, typically, they're most at risk of not making the team. But, Bivens had a nice spring. He had a nice year last year. There's even potential for him becoming like a medium leverage reliever, with how he did last year. So,
Well, I'm loading up on the pitching. I'm telling you, with these guys being older, you just can't push them. You can't do it. And you only have a couple of days off, and you got a tough April. And I'm loading up in the bullpen. And I'm going to the bullpen in that 5th inning, 6th inning, and I'm taking that bullpen into the 7th inning. And I think that's where they should go. I really do. So that's how I feel about that. All right, this is what we like about this time of year. Now, we're going to take a little break, but I get this in the email all the time from Jimmy Shapiro. I guess he's one of the handicappers. Says, Willie Adames, total home runs in 2025 regular season, over under. He's got it at 23.5. I'm going to let you think about that.
Harsh, very harsh.
And Matt Chapman, total homers, 22.5. And Logan Webb, total wins, 12.5. So we'll take a very short break here, and I'm going to come back. I want to get your thoughts on those few right after this. Fans, joining us is Grant Power, President and CEO of Nations. Grant, last year we talked about the amazing breakfast at Nations. I'm going to ask you this. What's your favorite lunch?
I'm pretty split. I guess I'm kind of like a pitcher who has 2 favorite pitches they like leaning on. I'd say half the time I do the hamburger and half the time I do the wild salmon burger. It really depends on which protein you want. We love our beef supplier in Northern California. We've been with them for decades. We test our beef all the time. We sell ocean caught wild salmon. Friends don't let friends eat farm salmon. It's absolutely delicious. To mix it up, I guess it's like a pitcher who has a 2-seamer and a 4-seamer, or maybe a 4-seamer and a cutter. I actually go grilled onions on my hamburger half the time and raw onions the other half. Today at lunch, I got the French fries, but half the time I get the onion rings, and I had a wonderful slice of pecan pie. There's something for everybody, whether you like hot dogs or grilled cheese. It's really up to the individual what mood they're in, but my go-to is either the beef with the hamburger or the wild salmon, which is absolutely delicious.
Wow. I love it. Grant Power, President, CEO of Nations. Grant, thanks so much.
Pleasure being on.
All right.
I love these things. I really do. That was nice. All right. These are good questions. Willie Adames. All right. I'm going to start with Eric up there. Willie Adames, total homers, over under 23 and a half.
He goes over 23. I don't think he hits 30, but I think he's over 23 and a half.
He's not playing in Miller Park anymore, you know that.
No. Correct.
All right.
Correct.
And now the Coke bottle is going to be lit up. You know, they do something to the Coke bottle. It's got LED lights in there, whatever that means. All right. All right, Jeff, where do you go? Over under 23 and a half for Willie.
I'm going to take the over. A couple of factors here. Willie Adames, pull hitter. Interestingly, Giants and the Brewers ballpark have the same, and I'm pulling up Baseball Savant here, same park factor for right-handed hitters at 97. So what it means is it's a tough ballpark to hit for both of them. So interestingly, Willie Adames hit 30-plus home runs last year in a ballpark that was pretty tough on righties. It goes to Oracle Park, where it's going to be just about the same from a Baseball Savant park factor. So I'll take the over.
All right. I'm going to just say that he is going to be playing in the West, and he's got to play in San Diego and LA, and now Colorado hopefully is a little easier. And Arizona. Jeff's got action here. Jeff's got action. Is that Michael talking? Is that you? Is that no?
That's me.
That's Jeff. All right. But my point is this: you're hitting in Wrigley Field, you're hitting in Milwaukee, and you're hitting in Cincinnati. You know, it's now. Jeff's probably got the numbers broken down, but it's not going to be so simple for Willie Adames. That's my point. But all right, Ev, where do you go? Over under 23 and a half, Willie Adames.
I'm going to take the under on that. I think he's going to hit a lot of doubles. I think he looks, just to me in the
Go ahead.
lots of, he's going to get on a lot, but I just don't see it as kind of one of these things where he has a huge power year. It doesn't mean he doesn't have a great year. I'm just not seeing the home runs.
All right. Michael?
Yeah. I'm riding the wave. And so I'm that kind of fan. I think he'll do quite well here. He's getting off to a good start in spring training. I know it's spring training in Evan. I get that, but I say over.
All right. Now, part of this, who's going to hit behind him? Let's say he hits. This is one of the issues that I have with the Giants is they didn't get the big bopper. They didn't get that number 3 hitter. So Willie Adames hit second. And all of a sudden, Willie Adames is coming up, with an open base and all that kind of stuff. Do you pitch around him? What do you think about the number 3 hitter? And Eric, what do you think?
Oh my gosh! I mean, it looks like it's going to be Jung-Hoo Lee.
Well, who you going to pitch to? Would you rather pitch to Lee or Adames with guys on base?
You'd rather pitch to Lee, right? That's the thing, and you got to have someone that you're going to fear in that 3 hole, so that you get a little bit more success from Adames in the 2 hole. So it's maybe Ramos. Maybe you put Ramos in the 3. I don't know if that messes with the left right. It seems like that's what the Giants like to go with, but I think Ramos would be a nice 3 hitter. Well, I guess we'll have to see how that all pans out.
Against left-handed pitching, Ramos is terrific. And I like him. He can run a little bit, and I wouldn't have a problem with him hitting 3rd against lefties. But all right, I'm going over 23 and a half for Willie Adames. I think he's going to hit enough. And from what I've seen him down here, he doesn't take pitches. This guy comes to the plate with the bat, and the bat is moving already by the time he gets up there. So I think he's going to swing, and I think he's in a groove. And even though he's not in Cincinnati, Jeff, you missed this. Even though he's not in Cincinnati and Wrigley, and Milwaukee, the parks that he'll be playing in, even in the West, you can hit home runs in these parks. So I'm going over on that. All right, how about Matt Chapman? He's been great down here. The guy's hitting like 400 down here. He's streaky. We all know that. He is a streaky hitter. The number for him, he's at 22.5 for Matt Chapman. Jeff, I'll start with you.
He is streaky. I'll take the over again. He got off to a slow start last year, a really bad April, and then just kind of turned it on right after that. Hit 27 home runs. Didn't really have a problem with the ballpark, and some right-handed hitters just don't have as much of an issue with Oracle Park as others do. So I'll take the over.
All right, Ev.
I like the over in that one too. And again, we're just kind of we're just talking here, but there's something about Chapman. I think he's the type of guy that he will look for a pitch, he will find his pitch. It just seems like there's times where he's just hits for power, and I think that number he'll eclipse it. And I didn't know he had 27 last year, but he seems more comfortable this year than he did last year. So why wouldn't he? I like the over.
All right, Michael.
Ever the optimist, the unbridled Giant fan. He is a treasure for this team, and the left side of this infield is one of the best in baseball. Power and defense, and that's got to play into that. I will absolutely say over, and if it wasn't over, it wouldn't be enough because you got a shortstop who will go over. I'm convinced. And, it's a terrific infield on that side.
All right, Eric.
Yeah, I think he goes over. I think he goes over 22. Again, I don't know if there's going to be a guy that's going to hit 30. You're going to have a magical year to be able to hit 30, having half your games at Oracle Park. But hey, you never know. It's baseball. That's what I love about the game. You never know what can happen. But yeah, I think he goes over 22.5.
Yeah, it's when I see these prop bets and it seems so obvious, it's trouble.
That's how they get you.
Yeah, it's true. It's trouble. It's trouble. They must know something about something. I'm going under.
Ooh.
I'm going under. It's just too clear that it's giving you money, and that doesn't happen. It doesn't happen in this betting of baseball thing. All right. Logan Webb. This is a good one because wins are tough to get because they yank you out of the game. Wins are not like, they used to be where, a guy his record was 15-18, something like that, So they got Logan Webb at 12.5 wins. What do you see with that? Evan, I'll start with you.
12.5 wins. Yeah, of course. Why not? I think he's going to have a good year. I think there's no reason to think that he won't, come out of the gates. I think the offense will back him up a little bit, and I think I like the over in that one.
All right, Michael.
I agree with Evan, my surrogate nephew. I do think that if the offense is better, and which I think it is, that's a good reason to go over on those wins.
All right. They're giving you one here, I think. Again, Jeffrey?
I'll take the under. Pitcher wins are so tough to predict. He's going to get a lot of decisions. There's no doubt about that. He's won 13 or more games in 2 of the last 3 years. Lots going to depend on, how good the defense is behind him on paper. They have a pretty good defense behind them. And his changeup wasn't as effective last year. If he's, if his changeup is back to being where it was in 2023, I think he has a good chance of going above that. But I'll take the under.
All right, Eric.
Ooh, I like what Michael said because I think the offense is going to be a bit better, and that's going to help him get those wins. I'll say over. I'll say over just for that simple fact. Because look, it's not all on the pitcher's shoulders, right? He's going to go out there and do his part, but you got to be able to score those runs to get that win. I'm not a big proponent for wins and losses. That's just me. But yeah, I think with with a better offense, yeah, I think he goes over 12.5.
All right. Yeah, I'm a sucker. I'm going over. And I did this last year with him. Jeff, what did he end up with last year? How many wins did Webb?
13,
12,
so right above 12.5.
Yeah, and it seemed like so obvious again. It's not easy to get a win. It's
Mhm.
not easy to do that. All right. I'm gonna take the bait on that one. I'm gonna go over. Justin Verlander. He pitches 110 innings. Over under. 110 innings for Justin Verlander. Eric?
Oh, I'm gonna have to say under. I think he's under 110 innings pitched.
Oh.
Again, it's not because I don't think he's gonna be able to do it. I mean, hey, you can't father time, right? I mean, you got to be careful with that, especially if you're trying to compete at the high level. And if he's coming out of the gate, really trying to show something, he may not have much left in the tank. Yeah, I think 110. And here's an idea that I was thinking, Marty, maybe you could elaborate on this. What do you think about maybe making him that actual fifth starter? So then you're not having to use him as much during the season. That's just a thought that I've had in the past.
That could happen just because of the way he works. But 100, what did I say? 110 innings?
110. Yeah, I don't think he makes it.
Still 110?
I don't see it.
Who are you asking? Did you ask me?
Michael.
I'm sorry.
Michael.
Oh, Michael. Sorry.
I'm sorry. Is it me?
Yeah.
Karnak,
You're up.
Okay. Well, I'm up. Well, I mean, that is a tough one, but they didn't bring him here just to like train people.
Mhm.
And I would think that 110 innings for a guy with his history, if he's healthy, he had one glitch last year, was very unhealthy. He's like a very special athlete, and that he can cover those innings. They need him to, and mean a lot to the team if he did. Being a Giant fan, definitely.
over. All right. Evan, where are you?
Michael, you said he had a glitch. Like, was he on the IR for a while last year?
Yeah, his
What
neck.
happened to him last
Oh
year?
yes, he was.
He had a neck issue, like a thoracic outlet thing, or like just a strained neck,
Next
just
shoulder.
a shoulder neck thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's worrisome, and I don't know how many innings he pitched last year. So, I would like to think of him historically like he could throw 110 innings for sure. I mean, you think a guy like that, but obviously to everybody's point here, it's the injury thing. Is he gonna miss any amount of time? So why not? It's spring. The first day of spring is Friday, right? Hope springs eternal. Yeah, I think he'll get to 110, 111, right over.
That could be Jeff.
I'll take the over on this one. He pitched 90 innings last year, only made 17 starts. I think he's got a chip on his shoulder. Who knows how good those innings are going to be. He looks healthy right now. His fastball's up to where it normally is, but his off-speed pitches were hit pretty hard last year. So I'll take the over. I think he has something he wants to prove. He's a competitive guy. He's healthy. He feels good right now. So, it remains to be seen how good those innings are going to be, though.
Yeah, I'm going to go over. From what I've seen of him down here, he, for the 5 innings, when he got to the 5th inning, he tired a little bit, and we're going to see him Saturday. I think we'll see him against Cleveland, see how far they push him. But he looks fairly healthy to me. And if they want 16, 17, 18 starts from him, I think he's got a chance to be around about 110. That's what it looks like to me. They're not going to push him. He's not going to pitch 150 or 170 innings. That's not going to happen. But they'd like to get 5 innings out of him, 5 2/3. And if he can just stay in the rotation, they'll be thrilled. They did want 15 starts from him. And if you do the math, that's probably about 80 to 100 innings. So we'll see. But I'm gonna be optimistic, and I think he's gonna be right around 110, and he'll either throw 100 or he'll throw 120, something like that. But you're asking a lot for the
Mhm.
for the 42-year-old. He's a competitor, and he's 32, 33 wins away, right, Jeff? I mean,
Yep.
from 300,
38.
38 away from 300. So we'll see. We'll see what he does. How about this question? Bob Melvin doesn't have a contract after this year. Do the Giants sign Bob Melvin during the season? And if they do, when does it happen? Jeff, I'll start with you. You know more about this.
Well, he has an option for 2027, a club option.
Right.
Or sorry, 2026. I don't think they're going to make any move during the season. It's all going to depend on performance. The Giants were not good last year. There were some. I think the best move that was made from a coaching staff standpoint this year was elevating JP Martinez to the pitching coach. He's had some really good reviews from a lot of pitchers this year. That should pay dividends. But yeah, it's really going to depend on how the team does. If they're around 80 wins again this year, I think the Giants might look to move in a different direction. Just because that's two straight 80-win seasons or around 80-win seasons with Melvin. My guess is they wait till the end of the year to make a decision on that.
All right. That's a tough one to put the manager in that position and manage the whole year. I think they will exercise, and I think they'll do it no later than June 1st. That's my feeling with that. So we'll see. All right. We're gonna take a short break, and I like these. I like to get your opinions on these things. So, who leads the Giants in two categories? One is going to be home runs. Is it Willie Adames or somebody else? And who leads the Giants in stolen bases? Because this year and down here in spring training, they're running like crazy. So, who leads in stolen bases? And who leads in home runs? All right, we'll do that when we come back. Gene Bagato checked in from the Tides up in Bodega Bay, and he said while the crab season hasn't produced great quantities, the crabs that have been delivered have been excellent. Down at the wharf, fresh crab is readily available for guests to enjoy, either in the restaurant or in the fish market to take home, along with all of the other varieties of seafood delicacies. And across the highway up at the inn, large, comfortable rooms are readily available at winter rates for those who want to get away but don't want to deal with 8 hours driving up to Tahoe. So if you're looking to get away for the day or a weekend, remember the Tides Wharf and the Inn at the Tides in beautiful Bodega Bay. All right. Home run. Who leads in home runs? Is it Willie Adames? Are we just conceding that to him? Guys, Eric, you go.
I'm gonna go a different way. I'm gonna say Elliot Ramos leads the club in home runs.
Okay.
I think he gets close to 30. I don't know if it quite gets there, but I think Elliot Ramos leads home runs.
All right. Michael?
Adames. I think that that's the easy pick. I think, but I'll take it.
All right. Jeff, where do we go? Home runs.
I like Eric's pick of Elliot Ramos. I was thinking the same thing. I'll go Matt Chapman. I think with Adames and Chapman, it's a matter of, I think who plays more games. They're both some of the more durable players in baseball, and they both hit a ton of home runs. But if they're both playing 150 games, they probably have the best shot of anyone on the roster. So I'll go with Chapman.
All right. I'm going to go probably Adames. I'll stay there with Adames. That he's going to be very comfortable. All right. It's August 1st. Who's still on the team? Encarnacion or Wilmer Flores?
Oh, it's unfair. That's terrible.
Come on, you can answer that. Who's still with the Giants? Both? Neither? One? Where do you go, Mr. Michael Gaines?
Well, I hope they're both on. You know, Flores is one of these like beloved players from New York, you know, that Met fans just adore. And that's the beauty of baseball, that, you know, it's really hard to like cut people loose. And Encarnacion is like a very special player in this particular lineup, where they put him, whether it's a DH or if they need him in the outfield. This guy can hit, but then they need, you know, platooning at first base. So it's really hard to say. Prefer not to like pick one or the other, but I am excited about Encarnacion as a hitter. And so if that's what it has to be, Wilmore, we have to say goodbye. I hope not, but we'll see.
All right. Good question, Jeff. What do you think?
I'll go Wilmer Flores. Encarnacion, I mean, you know, he's having a nice spring, tremendous power upside. There's some wrinkles in his profile. Very low walk rate, so he's going to be very batting average dependent in terms of reaching base. Really, I mean, he has a strikeout rate at or around 30%. Very high ground ball rate. He doesn't get the ball in the air, so while he hits the ball very hard, it's right into the defense. And you know, if this is a guy who got the ball in the air more, I mean, he'd be a pretty easy 30 home run hitter, but he just doesn't. His bat path just doesn't lend itself to that. So I'll go with Wilmer Flores. He's done it before he looks healthy. That's my pick.
All right, Eric.
Yeah, I'll agree with Jeff. Another thing I like about Wilmer Flores too, he gives you a good at bat. He'll take a lot of pitches. He works the count, and he doesn't strike out a whole lot. So he will take a walk if he needs to take a walk. So I like that about him. Yeah, it's Encarnacion right now. As you know, he's opening eyes in spring training. It's fun to talk about. But yeah, I think Wilmer Flores is the guy over Encarnacion.
All right. I think Wilmer Flores is on another team August 1st.
Traded. Gotcha.
I think he's going to end his career somewhere else and then come back as one of those beloved Giants, some of those. All right, we'll leave it at that. All right, here's the next one, and we'll take one quick break. If you were, I want to hear what you guys say. A lot has gone on in baseball. There's a lot going on in the country. Who knows how baseball is going to react to all the stuff that's going on? It's a very conservative sport. It really is. We saw the whole Jackie Robinson thing unfold the last couple of days of wiping out his page of the DEI business. So my question to you guys, if you were commissioner for a day with all this is going on in the world, what would you do? If you were just commissioner of baseball for a day, how would you change the game or not change the game? So think about it, and we'll come back after one more message. Go ahead.
All right, here we go.
Hey, it's Marty, and I'm here to tell you that it's time to discover the islands, and of course that means River Islands. They're celebrating 10 years of bringing the good life to Bay Area homebuyers. What's more, Del Webb, one of America's best-known builders for active adults in the 55 and over crowd, has just opened 3 neighborhoods at River Islands. They're building a huge community center on its own lake, all for buyers looking for a great lifestyle and a little less maintenance. I like that. Homes are priced from the 600,000s. Start your tour online at riverislands.com. Isn't it time for you to discover the islands? It sure is for me. All right. Commissioner for a day, Evan Lurie. What do you do about baseball, if anything?
Is this baseball related? It can't be a political statement.
You can say whatever you want. It's Marty Lurie and Friends.
So it can be like everybody, like vaccine day at the ballpark. Can we do that? Anybody that doesn't?
That's what you want to do. That's fine.
So all Texas ballparks will be giving out MMR vaccines to anybody. Now, what would I do for baseball? Let's see. That's a really good question. I think that maybe we need to expand, do something about the playoffs. I don't like that these wild card teams keep making the World Series. That I don't know what the answer is, but the fact that one of these teams that just gets hot and then they beat I mean, baseball the regular season used to matter, right? It was a National League team and an American League team, and whoever had the most wins played in the World Series. And then, each generation, it got a little bit more watered down to now where it's kind of like the NCAA tournament. And I think the unique thing about baseball is the importance of the regular season. So something about the playoff format to help out the teams that work to get there.
Okay. All right. That's a good one. Michael?
Well, I must say, your son is a bit of a curmudgeon, but I like it. It's great. In terms of like the world that we're living in and what baseball, the influence it can have, maybe, I don't want anyone to be offended, but I think that perhaps Donald Trump should look back upon, the advent of Jackie Robinson and what that meant in history, and what that meant for the history of this game. I mean, baseball is like the trajectory of what we all have lived with. Some of us are older. Marty and I are like brothers. We've been together forever, and this is what we're seeing here now. For me, is it's like a blasphemy. And there's a lesson to be learned from baseball that, there's something very special about this country. And we're just fans. That's all we are. But nonetheless, putting it in perspective historically, this is pretty dangerous. Pretty dangerous that people are going to baseball games now and not really realizing maybe what's going on around them. So I'm not sure that answers the question, but that's my answer.
All right, Jeff, where do we go?
Oh, so many directions. Good points by Michael and Evan. The one that stands out to me is fixing this is a topic during off season, but fixing how deferred payments for player contracts affects the competitive balance tax calculation, because it really should just be, in my opinion, just split it evenly. If it's a 2-year, $20 million deal, it's a $10 million cap hit, regardless of how they defer those payments. So just to fix that, because it's not a Dodgers thing. It's not unique to the Dodgers. A lot of players do it. A lot of teams do it. The Giants are paying Blake Snow, I think, $15 million this year. So it happens with a lot of teams, but just to clear up that what's kind of a loophole, because the penalties for the luxury tax are very real, and they're circumventing it by deferring the payment. So just get rid of, eliminate that loophole. That's what I would do.
Okay. All right. I'm going to jump in here and then we'll get to Eric. Baseball is going to have a ton of money coming in with streaming rights to Japan and Korea. And this is the whole thing that's in 2028, when all these contracts expire. They're going to negotiate tremendous amounts of money into this game. And as they say, billions are going to come in, billions. So I think I would say that the floor, there shouldn't be a salary cap. It's going to be $50 million to a player. It's going to be a routine thing in 2028, 2029. But these teams that don't spend money, I think the floor has got to be raised to keep the game competitive, because there are too many teams that are just falling back on, well, we can't afford it, this or that. And the game is going to have so much money that if I was commissioner, I'd say, look, you got to spend $150 million on a payroll. And that's just the way it is. And if you don't do it, there'll be certain penalties that go. So for me, I think it's coming anyway, but I would raise the floor. I mean, you got to be competitive. What the Marlins are doing, what the Pirates are doing, the White Sox have kicked in, and the A's have kicked in a little bit. I think you got to pay. Eric?
Yeah, and a little bit to your point is, if I was commissioner for a day, how about we put a deadline on free agents when they can sign? Maybe maybe make it to the 15th of December. That's it. That's as much time as you got to sign your free agents. You can do trades whenever you want, because I hate this where it just lasts. Oh, I mean, it just meanders, and you just want your team.
They'll lowball the players.
Oh, well, that's fair.
December 15th and say, all right, we'll give you this, and what's the player going to do?
Yeah, I guess there's no way to really escape that. I hate the longevity of the off season. Is just it's murder.
Yeah, it's the nature of it. All right, then those are things that are going on. The other question I asked before we took the other break was stolen bases. This team runs, and the center field or whoever it is going to be in the middle of it. Who leads this team in stolen bases, and how many? All right, I'm going to ask you how many. So think about it, and we'll take one break to give you a chance to think about it, Eric, and we'll come back after this. Go ahead. It's been a pleasure working with Rick Robin this year. Rick Robin, ROBBEN, NapaConstruction.com. Rick, the last time you were on with us, you told us about kitchen and bath remodeling, but there's a lot more going on up in your area.
Yes, there is. ADUs, auxiliary dwelling units, which are known as the granny units. We can do your existing garage, attached garage, even building a new unit in the back. And so what we do is come out, bring our architect out there. Such a great thing. No sewer hookup fees, no water hookup fees. So that's what we do.
Rick, how does one start the process with you? How does one get in touch with you?
Oh, you call Tammy, 707-332-7575, 7 days a week.
Rick Robin, ConstructionNapa.com. Rick, the thing I like about this, no problem for me. You come out with the plans, the permits, everything is in-house, no fees, and you get a new unit that you can rent out and get money back on your investment right away. I like it, Rick.
Thanks, Marty. Love talking to you.
Rick Robin, ConstructionNapa.com. Very good. I like it. He does all the work. That's what, right, Michael? We hire people.
He's terrific.
Yes. All right. The New York Giants Preservation Society, Gary Mintz says Flores ends his career with the Mets. All right. All right. Stolen bases. This is going to be a big part of the ball club this year. At least that's what they want. Who leads and with how many? Jeff?
I'm going to say Tyler Fitzgerald. He had 17 stolen bases in 96 games last year. The Giants don't have too many stolen base threats. A lot of it will depend on how many games he plays. So I'm going to guess he gets 22.
Okay. All right. All right, Evan? Ev, you there?
I don't think you hear us.
You can't hear it? Evan? That's you, Ev. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Michael, we'll go to you. We'll come back to Evan.
Well, I think that's a really good question. And part of it goes into, and I don't know, I'd like to hear the last day what's going on with Jung-Hoo Lee, because I think that's a big ripple effect on this entire outfield and stolen bases. Barring that, I was going to say if he's not healthy, Grant McCray.
That's a good one. That's a good. Evan, you back?
I'm back.
All right, good. You weren't. We couldn't hear you. All right, who leads in how many stolen bases?
What's everybody else said?
Well, Jeff has Fitzgerald at 22.
22.
Right. Michael has McCray, right? Is that what you said?
I didn't put up a number there, but I wouldn't go above 20.
All right.
How about Eric? Has he gone yet?
Not yet.
I want to be. I want to do like The Price is Right. I'll just go one over. Whoever.
All right, Eric.
No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead, Eric. Yeah.
I think it's going to be Tyler Fitzgerald too. Hopefully, he was able to get on base. It's considering if he's going to play some more games. I think Jeff, you said something like 90-something games. I'm hoping he plays much more than that. Yeah, I'll say 25. I'll say Tyler Fitzgerald leads the team in stolen bases with 25.
All right, Ev. All right, is Ev going to go or not? No.
He looks a little bit frozen.
Looks frozen again. He's back in the freezer. All right. I'm going with there's Ev. Ev, you back? All right.
Yeah, he's got some lag going on. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm going with Jung Ho Lee.
Ooh.
Yeah, I think he's going to play. Let's hope he plays
Yeah.
all the. He's going to play 135, 140 games, and I think he steals 30 bases.
Mm.
I think now it's going to be tough to do that out of the 3 spot.
Mhm.
That's a real problem. But that's my guy. I'm going with Jung Hoo Lee. He loves to run. He gets on, and if you watch him, every time he gets on, it looks like he's going. So
Right.
that's my guy. All right, Ev, you back? No. All right. Let's resolve a couple of these roster issues. Schmidt or Wisely? Who's the backup, Jeff?
I go with Wisely. I want Schmidt to get consistent playing time, and that's not going to happen as a backup infielder, especially with how Bob Melvin kind of uses the bench. And Wisely gives him a little more balance in the infield with right-handed hitters like Thomas, Chapman, and Fitzgerald. So, and Wisely can play second base and shortstop, so gives him a little versatility. So I'll go Wisely. Even though Schmidt's had the better spring, has the better, offensive upside in my opinion. I think the key for him is just to get everyday at bats.
All right. Wisely's playing short tonight, by the way.
Yep.
Evan, are you back, Ev?
Apparently, I don't know.
All right. You give me your stolen base person.
Okay. So all right, they're piling up for me. All right, stolen bases. I'm going to say 24 for Willie Mays, and I'm going to say Fitzgerald. My brother loves Fitzgerald, so we'll give him a shout out, and maybe he'll put it together this year.
Okay. All right. You have a thought on Wisely or Schmidt?
Okay, Wisely or Schmidt. Okay. Yeah, I think personally, Schmidt brings more at the major league level right now. That's kind of where I'd fall out on it. But I honestly, I haven't watched enough of either of them in the spring to have an opinion that's worthy of this panel, I must say.
All right. So we'll accept that as I don't know what I'm talking about. All right. Michael, you're up.
I think this is Casey Schmidt's opportunity. I think he really is. He came up here and he looked really, really dynamic. Great bat speed, power hitter. He really is. And he can actually play second base. He's really an unusual athlete. So he's my guy.
All right. I like it. Eric, have you gone already?
Not yet. I like Casey Schmidt. I like what Jeff says. He does need those at bats, but he's the better player. He could also play third base too, right? Other than Wisely, he can't play third. Schmidt can play third, shortstop, second base, and I love what Schmidt's doing. He has that potential, but like Jeff says, he just needs those at bats. He's going to get the at bats, of course, in Sacramento, but gosh, I think he would just be valuable here on this team in the event something happens with any of the 3 of the 4 infielders.
Yeah, Wisely can play short apparently, where Schmidt, I read somewhere, Schmidt has a little more trouble playing short. They need a left-handed hitter off the bench.
Yeah.
You're going to hit for Fitzgerald, and Wisely is a left-handed hitter. So even though Schmidt, I love him, I think the way this thing shakes down, it'll probably be Wisely. All right, last question I'm going to ask you. Matos, he's had a great spring. What do you do with him? What do you do with Matos? Well, what kind of a season is he going to have here? Evan, I'll start with you.
Oh, thank you. I think that he's he's another one of these guys that you live on their potential, and they have sparks in the spring, but then it's a long season, and can he stay up? Can he keep his head up against major league pitching? I don't know that. So I think that Matos is another one that's kind of like a tweener sort of guy that will probably be platooning in and out of the lineup. I don't know what to expect out of him, to be honest.
I think he platoons with Yastrzemski personally, but they still like Yastrzemski in the lineup. But Matos has had a good spring. Michael, what do you think?
Well, what I want to know, maybe you guys know, because the Chronicle is always one day behind. It's what's going on with Jung-Hoo Lee, because I think the ripple effect, if he opens the season on IR, creates a lot of problems, big problems for the Giants. And he's only played about 35 games for $113 million. It was like a contract that I think people really were shocked. But I think the Giants wanted to make to wade in and get people interested. So I would like to know what's going on with him, because I think that Matos is implicated with that situation, where he's going to play. If he does play, he's going to be the fourth outfielder. So I don't know. I don't know the answer, but I think that if Lee is down, that's a problem. That's a big deal.
Jeff, Matos?
Yeah, I think to your point, Marty, I think he's probably going to platoon with Mike Yastrzemski to start the year, and what his role is after that really depends on how he performs. I think the Giants have to be realistic, and that Yastrzemski is probably not going to be with the team next year, so they really need to start looking at what options they have right now. And Matos is the most obvious option, so I think he platoons with Yastrzemski to start the year, and if he hits, he'll continue to see more playing time.
All right. I think they're going to give him a lot of shots here to see what he can do. I don't know where that's going to happen, but if he can't break into this lineup somewhere, he's got to go to Sacramento, because you just can't sit him on the bench. And he's playing every day down here, every single day. So that leads me to believe that they're going to try to use him when the season opens. All right, this is fun. I know it's not simple to do this, but it's kind of what baseball is about. We'll do one more question, then we'll say goodnight. I'll make the over-under on wins for the Giants. I'm going to say 82 half. 82 and a half for the Giants. Eric?
I'm going 84. 84 wins for the Giants.
Okay. All right. Michael?
I think Eric is a savant. I'm with you, pal. And I'm going to go 84 and a half. Okay.
Oh, there we go.
I'm going over, Marty. I think you're that's what I'm saying.
All right. Ev?
I think this one's kind of be right on the edge. So if I was in Vegas, I wouldn't bet it. This would be a pass. But I'd say
Yeah.
a lot of good teams in the National League, a lot of question marks for this team. They look really good in spring, to be honest. I mean, you watched that lineup last night, you would have said, wow, this team can contend. And, I think their pitching staff, again, we're at the start of this, but as the season goes on, I think, it's going to get trouble. We'll probably get right around the number. I have a feeling they're probably going to end up just a little bit under the number, but again, I don't know that I would bet it.
All right, Jeff.
I'll go 81.
81. Okay. Yeah, it's tough because a lot of things have to go right.
Yes.
The starting staff has to go right. The bullpen's got to be solid, and I think the one thing that we've learned tonight is the depth. Is that we're talking about guys having to have big years and not get hurt, and that's the biggest thing. So I'm going to be optimistic because I just think they have a lot of arms, and I just think they're going to be in a lot of 4-3 games. They're not going to be in 7-6 games like that. They're going to be 4-3. It's going to be torture. It's going to be that again. Late inning stuff and bullpen in the 6th inning, and here comes Rogers in the 7th, and here we go to Duvall and Miller and Walker, and we're going to just see that constantly all year. So I'm going to go 83. I'm going over. going over 82.5. I'll say 83. That's where I'm going. But, well, who knows? But look, I think they've taken a step forward. And that's my feeling. I think the team has taken a step forward. They're competitive. It's just the one thing down here, they don't have offensive depth. That's the one thing. Any injuries are problems. Pitching wise, they've got some depth. They really do. They have a whole new wave of pitchers coming. Figueroa from the minor leagues, he got the Barney Nugent Award as the outstanding player in his first camp. So he's kicked around the big leagues, 6 teams, and he's throwing 100. But with relievers, all of a sudden they become good. Lou Trevino is another one. He got hurt. He's here. He'll probably be on the team. Bob Melvin likes him. So the pitching is fairly solid. For me, it's just the offense. That's the problem. For everything to go right, last thought, for everything to go right, what's got to happen for the Giants? Michael?
I think that the left side of this infield has to stay healthy. I think we're downgrading or maybe ignoring the fact what they've added to their offense, and they're explosive, and they're not that far away from winning 107 games. I realize it's a little bit away, but they're not that far away from it. There's players that were there, and this is a new team. It's better. It's much better. And I think that, the idea that the left side of this infield is really a very, very good major league infield, very special. And if these guys stay healthy, which they tend to do, they're going to be good. That's
Okay.
what I think.
All right, Ev, what's got to be right for the Giants for this to happen? All right. He's thinking. All right. Jeff, what's got to be right?
I think the younger guys have to show that last season, specifically Tyler Fitzgerald and Elliot Ramos, that they weren't that last season wasn't a one-off and that they can repeat it. And that Patrick Bailey needs to avoid that pretty massive second half slump like he did. And then, somebody like Luis Matos or Casey Schmidt, finding his way into the lineup as well. So I think what has to go right is a lot of younger guys really have to carve out rules and perform.
Okay. All right. It's fair enough. Eric?
I'm going to take something that you always say, Marty. The guys who get paid need to show up, right? Jung-Hoo Lee, Willie Adames, Matt Chapman, Robbie Ray. Those guys got to perform at the level that they're getting paid at. If those guys are performing at what they got paid at, hey, the Giants, I think, are going to be in a good position.
Okay. All right. Ev, you back?
Again, let's do this quick before it goes away again. Can you reiterate the question, please?
Yes, please, Mr. Gaines, would you repeat the question for Evan?
Exactly. What is it about the Giants that you really think is positive?
I don't remember that being the question, but all right. So what I would say is that for everything to go right this year, they have to stay away from injuries. They have to get out to a quick start, and they have to kind of continue that steady success so that they are still somewhat in the picture come July. I think that's the big thing. That last year, it just didn't seem like by May, it just was like, yeah, this is not going to happen. And we just have to stay afloat into July. Maybe, something happens at the deadline. Maybe the young guys hit. Maybe, everybody has to do their job. I wouldn't point out one guy, but we just got to stay afloat to July. And then that's when the season really starts, end of July, start August.
All right. That's a good answer. Good answer. All right. Hey, I appreciate everyone being on. It's fun to do this. It's the end of spring. Look, today's Wednesday, tomorrow's Thursday. A week from tomorrow, they're playing.
Mm-hmm.
All this, and once it starts, all these answers are going to be out there, and it's fun to do this. So I appreciate everyone taking the time. Around the Foghorn, outstanding. You got to look it up. It's a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
You get a true And you can tell by Jeff's answers, he knows what he's talking about. Ev, thank you. And what kind of, are you on a laptop?
Sure.
All right. Who knows? Michael, very good. Thank you.
Good to see you, Marty.
All right. We'll do it again. And Eric, thank you.
You bet, Marty.
All right.
Take
And
care,
Ryan,
guys.
Ryan, who produced all this, thank you, Ryan, for doing it. And
Way to go, Ryan.
Yeah. And the next show, hopefully, will be next Wednesday night, the night before the opener. So we'll know a lot more by then. But I appreciate everyone being on. And we'll say
Thanks,
goodbye.
Marty. That was great. Thank
right.
you.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
Thanks. This
Thanks.
is fun.
Okay.